In 1933, I turned the money which I'd been given into cash I had in my pockets, and I arrived in Bridgeport, Connecticut, to produce this new ground taxing quality of the omni-medium transport. Because it just began going to go on the ground, I knew people would call it an automobile. It wasn't designed just to be an automobile at all. She was so extraordinarily stable, and my center of gravity was very, very low. And for the first vehicle that ever had the center of gravity forward to the midpoint of the wheelbase. It did prove to be a very good vehicle and did have very high efficiency. With 11 passengers, I averaged over 22 miles per gallon. Sometimes I got as much as 30 with 11 passengers. It was very, very high. A front-steered car with the kingpins can only steer up to 34 degrees angle. My rear rudder post I could turn so I could give it 90 degrees rudder if I wanted. This meant then when I wanted to come into park, there would be a space just, say, 6 inches longer than my Dymaxion car. I would simply bring my nose into the curb and then throw my rear wheel sideways, and she'd went right and drop like that.
Well, yes, the Dymaxion car, hey, much more evolved than the cars we get today. Seats like 9 people or something as well. And that was Buckminster Fuller, who is another one of these, genius type people that we've had that basically had all these good ideas, to change the world for the better and, was basically shut down and he's been forgotten. He's not promoted at all, just like all of these people who go out and try and make the world better, right, with their ideas and creativity and their inventions. And of course, that's not good for the system, right? Because everything that is created is for the people, right? It's cheap, it's free, it doesn't align with the corporations. And there's so many of these stories out there. So today, I thought we would have a bit of a look at the technology that we've lost. Well, did you know mobile phones in 1922? Pretty cool. The umbrella was like their satellite. And interesting that they connected to a bollard, right? So what really are these bollards? Were they part of the old electric grid? Most of them now we're told are connected to water, right? And of course, water has current flowing through it. So was this part of the old, world water tech? Because water is so associated with the old world and everything they did. But yeah, let me know. What do you think? Is it all water and current?
You can tell so much of these old world structures are remnants of buildings far beyond the capabilities of what we build today, but far beyond the scale and size that we would build. This architecture of the old world was not just built for us, and it wasn't just built by us either. You can tell we once lived in a land where we once walked side by side with giants.
Bronze doors, hey, 40 foot tall and 11 inches thick. What do you think this means? Is this proof of giants, that there were giants living with us, right? Because we have all these buildings with massive doors, they're everywhere. But at the same time, we have buildings next to them with normal sized doors or smaller doors, right? So, what was going on here? Let me know. Was it all built by giants?
So they would get together with their family and friends, and they would only eat with silver, gold and copper. They'd also get out special glassware because of its benefits. And the reason they would all use silverware and copper to eat is because silverware and copper is highly conductive. So when the cutlery would touch the food, it would conduct energy to the food. And if you think about food, it has high conductivity. And the silverware and copper and even gold was enhancing that. So if you think you use something like iron or stainless steel or plastic, the magnetism from that steel will actually pull energy out of the food. That is why most of your cutlery is made from stainless steel and iron, because they don't have the beneficial benefits that copper and silverware once had. And this is why people would eat with copper, gold and even brass sometimes, because it would increase the electrical conductivity when they ate the food, increasing the benefits of the food. So if you think of brass, copper and zinc, these actually make up holy water. And so you've been sold the idea that aluminium and coated pans are safe, and the fact that all of your cutlery is stainless steel or aluminium. But these have no benefits because we used to use copper, gold and silverware, as these materials would increase the power that the food had on the body, and the positive benefits came from it as well. Also think of copper cutlery. Since copper is antibacterial, they wouldn't need to wash their cutlery because of the properties of copper and brass. And finally, it was adding minerals into their food as well. When the copper would touch the food and the brass, it was adding essential minerals into people's foods.
Yes, copper, gold, and silver. I mean, we've all heard of silver spoons, right? And of course, we're fed this story that it was only the elites, the gentry, those who wish to rule us that were using this stuff. But I'm sure everyone was using it, right? And like you said, it's for electrical conductivity. I'd never heard, them talking about the metals giving energy to the food, which is pretty interesting. And what we've got currently, with stainless steel and all this, is drawing energy from the food. Pretty interesting stuff, right? So I guess it's time to hit the op shops or the Goodwill stores, depending on where you are, and hunt around, see if you can find some old, copper, brass, silver, gold utensils. And of course, now they sell us all this stainless steel stuff, right? And all this non-stick stuff that they've sold us is the best stuff. It's all coated in Teflon, which is DuPont. Thanks, DuPont. And this is turning into microplastics, and we are consuming it. And of course, microplastics have now been proven to be able to get through the blood-brain barrier, and they're causing things like dementia. So, again, it's another technology that we, the men and women, humankind, were using and came up with, and of course, it was vilified and taken away.
Two finds over here, ancient books from 1850 right here. The Power of Water talks all about how you can use water to create energy and electricity. But, we never learned about that. And then this one, I never in my life thought I could find this book. This book goes into talking about the color blue and how you would put the color blue in your greenhouse or in front of your plants, and they will grow 3 to 4 times the size. And this will be in my book, actually. I'll be writing about this, but I'll just turn the page. I don't want to... And you can see that they even used blue ink in this one. And look at, this is from 1876. And check that. Window panes with blue glass to amplify plant growth.
Yeah, color technology, the blue light and the red light. We've been hearing a lot about this recently. And again, check out Dr. Jack Cruz and the light diet. And, this is all around the 2D world, right? All these screens that we're looking into, they're giving off the wrong light frequency to us. And as we heard, blue light makes plants grow. So what does it do for humans? And of course, they're pushing the red, the infrared, as health, and I'm sure it has benefits. It's all to do with circadian rhythms and what times we get these colors. But we don't hear a lot about blue, right? Apart from blue blocks, blocking blue light, which is coming to us through the screen, which is clearly not natural light. So have you tried this? Have you heard of this before? Blue lights to make plants grow better. And the glass thing, there's so many different types of glass in the past. We saw in one of the clips the uranium cups, and there were lots of different things. And of course, uranium, we're told it's going to kill us. Same with mercury, but back in the 50s and 60s, kids would play with mercury in their hands. It was kind of everywhere. It was in all the thermometers, right? And again, that has been taken away. Why is that? Is it maybe because when you spin it in a centrifuge, you get levitation? Let me know your thoughts.
The average World Fair had a Ferris wheel. That Ferris wheel is 50 tons, and this is in the late 1800s. And each little box that's going round can hold up to 60 to 100 people. And if you look, there's about 30 on the wheel, and it actually took 10 minutes for the wheel to go round. And so you have to think of the energy that would be required for technology like this in 1893. And if you look at all of these World Fairs that happened in the late 1800s, they are all outfitted with many light bulbs. Thousands of them. And then you start to question, well, how was there this many light bulbs in 1893 for one fair? And they had all of this electricity as well, so you start to question that in the 1800s. And then you start to realise that all of this stuff has already been here. All of these things being put on for show. What I would also notice when I looked farther back into the 1700s and the early 1800s, they were showing people all of this exotic jewellery from Russia. All of these other countries as well, which is mind-blowing to look back there, made from pure gold, silver, and all these rare stones. And the average person had all of this jewellery. And that's when I started to realise all of these things show have already been here, they've just been stolen. And now they've hidden the technology from us.
Yes, they have. Interesting, right? Like, how did they light all these World's Fair cities? And 1893, that was Chicago World's Fair, and that Ferris wheel, like you said, it was huge, right? And what did they do after the fair? They dismantled it and buried it. And just that makes no sense at all. Even just when you think about the amount of metals, I'm not sure what it's made of, iron probably. Um, that's a lot of metal. Why wasn't it reused if they were getting rid of it? But why would you build these massive Ferris wheels and then just dismantle them and bury them? It's the whole World's Fair narrative, right? Just built for a fair, all these massive buildings out of stucco, right, and wood, and then destroyed. But the thing is, we still have many of these World's Fair buildings around, and they ain't made of stucco and wood, I can tell you that much. And the whole light thing, the light bulbs, where were they getting the energy? I think it was free energy, right? It was ether energy. But the other question is, if this was a new technology, which we're told, then who was trained to install all these electric systems? Who was making all the bulbs? Who was making all the cables? Doesn't make a lot of sense. So that fair, 1893, completely lit up, and there were ones before that. And if we look into the light bulb, the first practical commercially viable incandescent light bulb was patented by Thomas Edison, 1879. So we're talking 14 years before the World's Fair in Chicago, and suddenly they had all the industry to make this stuff. They had all the people trained up in how to install them, how to install the whole grid, and of course they would have had to have electric power stations, right? If we go by their narrative, so it doesn't line up. And I just find it interesting that they say the first viable incandescent light bulb. Are they telling us that, that these lights weren't incandescent? Is that how they sort of get around this? Because it looks like the technology was there already.
This was an electric quick service station for electric-powered taxis in 1940. The fleet of taxis would just pull up, and they would quickly swap out the battery, almost like a NASCAR pit crew. It's funny, they had fleets of electric vehicles, electric taxis like this, electric trucks, so much. I went to the Museum of Science and Industry this spring in Chicago, and they had a whole wing of the history of the automobile. Not one of these electric vehicles were shown. Just the reintroduced technology from today, like the Teslas and stuff. Nothing on these electric trucks here. Nothing on these electric buses. It's like they didn't want you to know the capabilities and power of the past. And the parasites can keep on charging as a premium for their petroleum-based vehicles. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
Again, we've had this technology for a long time. The first electric cars, if you look into it, in the 1800s, the late 1800s that they tell us about. And as far as I can tell, they were all running on lead acid batteries, and they were going further than a Tesla today would go. So even the whole battery technology thing has been messed with, right? That it's planned obsolescence. They build these things so they break down, so that we keep buying stuff. Consumerism, right? And of course, all of this was really Rockefeller who destroyed the electric car. He obviously was in oil, he owned Standard Oil, and he wanted people to buy his oil. So he basically destroyed that industry. And also, he went around the world ripping out the tram systems, right? Which again probably ran on free electricity and were free to use, right? But he ripped them all out so that he could get petrol powered buses, right? So he could sell his fuel, all for money, right? The parasites, everything they do is to control us. And of course, now we have Teslas, right? We have the new electric car from L on, the Messiah that everyone loves, who's going to save the world by putting chips in their brains. But of course, the Teslas are completely full of technology that is harvesting our data. It's watching us. And now these cars, they drive by themselves. That's scary. With all this credit system stuff, the internet ID that's coming in, what happens if you do something wrong? Do they turn your car off? Do they drive it off a cliff? Basically, what it means is they're controlling it, and that's why they got rid of the electric cars as well, is because it was freedom and they couldn't control it.
Oh, they have found many ancient technologies at these sites, because these buildings are the ancient technologies themselves. They, of course, will never let you and I know these technologies. And that is, of course, part of the control that they have over us all. The elites of this world know all about this free energy technology and could make it available to the masses in an instant, just as our ancient past did. Yet, sadly, that's not the world we live in. We are intentionally held back, technologically and other. Our true history and its advanced capabilities are deliberately hidden from us as well. But just look at the architecture and the designs that went into these structures of our past. The technology is still very much there, and it's been hidden in plain sight from us. We are but the inheritors, living in a post-apocalyptic realm, not knowing the greatness of the past that's been hidden all around. Research the mud flood and fall of Tartaria. Question everything, friends.
Question everything, guys. And if you're into Tartaria, mud flood, star forts, all that, check out my main channel, Autodidactic, link below. But this is the thing, all these old buildings, I basically see them as machines, right? Of some kind, free energy machines, healing machines like the cathedrals, right? That are full of organs and choirs and all this frequency technology, right? The somatic windows, all this kind of stuff, it's all there. And the Indian temples are crazy, right? They've literally got, like we saw in that, bits that move. Like they literally are machines. But we've just forgotten or been educated out of the fact that is possible and also how to use them. And this is why education, right? They get us when we're young. They put us in these schools and basically teach us everything that's wrong, right? They teach us how to live in the society that they want us to live in, how to be a good little worker and taxpayer. And they definitely do not teach us anything about free energy or how to free ourselves and the whole world, right? Because they want to control us. But their control is coming to an end pretty quickly. I think we can see it all around us at the moment. They're losing.
Nothing is new under the sun. Mostly just shelved technology from the old world that sat around until they could re-engineer it to maximize profit. Check out the original mobile phone from all the way back in 1940. Here is the ARC Cambridge car phone. This is just one of the many models offered from that time. But hold the phone, because we got an awesome video of them in action. On a side note, I've always loved how the interiors looked on these older cars. The style and aesthetics, and the phone just goes perfectly with that.
Type of mobile telephone service was used when our friend Mac called from his mobile telephone. This service is designed to provide a means of communication for those who travel in city areas as well as those who travel along intercity highways. Any place having regular telephone service or any vehicle having mobile equipment can originate or receive a call. Now let's see the equipment that makes mobile telephone service work. Here in an automobile, a transmitter unit and a receiver unit are being compactly and neatly installed. The flexible antenna is mounted on top of the vehicle, or in the case of trucks, on the side toward the rear. The control unit is simple to operate. The operator calls by ringing a bell. At the same time, a signal lamp on the left of the unit lights up. Throughout the country, mobile telephone stations are being expanded to become links in a nationwide network. The mobile telephone greatly expands the scope of voice communication. It is one more step toward telephone service for anyone, anytime, anywhere.
For anyone, anytime, anywhere. The problem is that it would cause freedom, right? It didn't have all these tracking devices in it, and they couldn't get, a couple of $1,000s per phone, and everyone upgrading every few years. And this is the thing, like they get the technology, right? And they suppress it until they can turn it into a surveillance device and a control device. And of course, he said the first mobile phone, 1940s. Clearly, that was talking about car phones, right? But we saw the clip where they had mobile as far as handheld mobile phones back in the 20s. And I remember my parents actually got a car phone in the 90s, and that was new technology back then. So that's 50 years they suppressed this until they could get all their little surveillance devices in it. So it's all about control, guys. But now we see through it, right? We can see through their plan, which means it no longer has power over us. It's time for us to walk into the new world, and that means creating all this technology, finding the old technology and reintroducing it, right? Technology for humans. Yeah, have you seen that one before? The SkyTrain in Germany. I think I came across this one about 3 or 4 years ago. And, we don't have, trains like this anymore, right? We're taught that well, we're just not taught that they existed. But clearly it's advanced technology, right? From the old world, Tartaria, whatever you want to call it. And so the SkyTrain, like I said, it's still there. It's called the Wuppertal Schwiebahn. The historical Wuppertal Schwiebahn, a suspended monorail that has been in operation since 1901. 1901, guys, 124 years. Dusseldorf Airport SkyTrain, a suspended monorail connecting the airport rail station to the terminal. So this is the kind of stuff we used to have. And again, it's all been destroyed, right? Taken away. This is the last one left, but I would say that these things were everywhere, right? And they often leave one and just sort of say it's an anomaly, right? This is the only one ever built. It's like the Eiffel Tower, right? We're taught that it is the only tower like that in the world. But if you do your research, there's towers like the Eiffel Tower all across the realm. They're everywhere. So what was their original purpose? Clearly, the Eiffel Tower wasn't just a big metal structure that was created, um, just as a landmark, right? And so they could put the first ever elevator in it. It's again, they take down all the other stuff. They don't tell us about it, and they say, oh, it's just one of a kind. It was just an anomaly, which clearly is not true.
First we have here is you press a button and the writing slope comes out. So if you wanted to be able to write on something or read, you had an extra slope. Then on the sides, you press one of the buttons and a secret drawer comes out. You press another button on the inside and secret drawers come out on the end. You press a button on the side, the lion heads come out. On the other side of the desk, which we've just turned around, what we have here is Socrates. And then you press a button further here and two more drawers come out. Another drawer at the top. Press a button, more drawers. And then you press another button and another one. Every desk needs a centerpiece. And here's the centerpiece for this one, where you open it up, the drawers come out. Of course, these are secret that lock. And then even the center drawer comes out, which is secret. On the top of it is an eagle, which is a symbol of the Roman Empire.
Symbol of the Roman Empire, the eagle, that's what they tell us, right? Everything leads to Rome. That's what they want us to believe, the Roman Catholic Church. But again, do your research and you'll find that the eagle, especially the double-headed eagle, comes from Tartaria, right? And the previous generation. But how was that desk? This is the level of craftsmanship that we were at. And now look what we get. Like we get IKEA, right? Glue and sawdust put together. It's not even made of wood. Mass produced, no energy, not natural, full of plastics. And it was just all taken away, right? All this amazing creativity that was being used and created was just destroyed, right? Taken away. And we all got put into jobs, right? To learn how to pay taxes. It's crazy. And, we seem to be there again, right? With AI. It is there to steal our creativity, right? AI is not creative. It just is an algorithm that goes through what we've all said, all the information it's collected, and basically spits out an answer based on that. It can't create anything. So what it's going to do is destroy creativity. It's going to stop things like this coming back. At least that's their plan. So, my advice would be don't get too into AI, right? And apart from the fact that it lies, it's wrong so often. But the biggest thing is it's stealing our creativity, right? Our ability to think for ourselves. There it is, free ether energy in motion. And, I saw that clip. I think it's in Bangladesh, that one. So that's been around for, 2 or 3 years at least. But you saw the comment, right? You say there's free energy, prove it. Well, that's not the only building that's been found with that seems to be giving off energy, right? Or attracting it or whatever it's doing. And this is a big problem with the world is people watch this stuff, they go in, they watch a 2-minute video, and yes, I understand that's what we're watching here. But the reason I'm doing this is to try and give a different perspective, to get away from the doom scrolling and everything that's bad, because that's what they want us to believe, that everything's collapsing, right? The world is ending. It's Armageddon. which is all a narrative, right? It's not true. It's not happening. It's engineered. We know all the natural events, the catastrophes that we've been seeing. We know that's all controlled and manipulated, including earthquakes, right? We know they're up in the sky spraying stuff. This is all, it's not man-made, it's parasite-made, right? But the biggest thing is, if people have questions, why are they just like saying, prove it to me? Why don't they actually use their mind and go and do some research and find out for themselves? Because that's what it is to be autodidactic, right? Self-educated, thinking for yourself. And of course, you can't be autodidactic unless you have at least 3 points of views. If you've only got one or 2 point of view, you're being told something. You're being programmed, right? There's no room to think there to make a decision. And and of course, this channel is called Autodidactic. This is my second channel, Autodidactic 2. So thanks for joining me. Hope you're enjoying the show. Please do leave me a like if you like this. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share it around and leave me your comments. What do you think about all this? Because I'd love to know.
All the massive and beautiful bells of the old world that served a very important purpose. Why do you think bells needed to be under armed guard? And the fanfare behind them, and the poses like they're posing after a hunt. Because after the reset, there was a rush on. You'll find the same armed guards at many of these dig sites, supposed archaeologists making discoveries, all under armed guards. It's just like these bells. It was a rush to dig up the remnants of the old world and the old world's technology. The controllers had the knowledge and knew what had to go. Like I said, these bells served a very important purpose. They kept us at a higher frequency. They were able to heal us and uplift us, but more importantly, they were able to ward off the negative energies and the darkness. And that's something the evil of this new world order of ours couldn't have around. So they were meticulously rounded up, city by city. And after they gathered up so many, meticulously categorizing all the inventory, what did they do with these bells? They melted them down. The bells that once were used to heal were now used for ammunition in the wars. Wars always have secret agendas, not just the culling of the young and the best and the brightest of all nations, but also destroying the traces of our true past and our true history. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
The bells, the bells. I mean, we used to hear about them. They used to be part of what was normal, right? We had nursery rhymes, oranges and lemons, the bells of St. Clemens. We had Quasimodo, right? The bells, the bells. But what he said is true. Like, if you look into the history of bells and why they were using them, you'll come across a lot of narratives that say they kept trolls away, right? Maybe we need bells on the internet, right? Um, but this is the thing, they kept away bad low frequency energies and they gave off high frequency because they're basically resonators. And that's also why they were in all the cathedrals, right? Because cathedrals were healing machines, right? Healing frequency machines. And of course, they went and they ripped them all out. And like he said, they melted them down and use them to kill people, right? So that again, that invert everything. They've taken it from something that healed to something that kills, right? They made bullets and bullet casings and things out of it. It's crazy, right? And then we see all these massive bells around, like including the Liberty Bell, that are cracked. Why are they cracked? What happened? Is that something to do with a new frequency that was introduced? And also the size of them. These old world bells, some of them were massive. So is that another hint that maybe there were larger people here with us in the past? man, the old world that we used to inhabit, like there was high tech everywhere. Everything was like, again, right, was done for us, for men and women to live in harmony, right? Harmony, harmonics. It's a frequency word, right? And that's what it brought, harmony, like everyone in a good frequency. And of course, again, it's all been destroyed. If it wasn't able to be monetized and used against us, they got rid of it. And this is where inventors come from, right? Inventors, all these people that are put up, as these great inventors like Edison and all these people. Um, I don't believe they were inventors at all. I believe that all this tech was gathered up from the old world and basically put in warehouses. And when they could work out how to use it against us, then they got an inventor, an inventor, right? But an inventor is just someone who goes to the inventory, right? Picks out some tech, releases it to the world. So it's all reused technology. The parasites have not come up with any of this stuff. They've just stolen it and used it against us. But the good news is we can see through this, and all these technologies are being rediscovered. And this is what we need to do, get back into it, rebuild them and get them out. But the problem has been in the past is people have released it, thinking, oh my God, the world's going to love this because it's good for the world, without realizing that the parasites hate that stuff. That's why so many people have been unalived after they, rediscover and create and reintroduce this technology. Right? If it doesn't go along with the agenda, they're coming for you. I want one. The craftsmanship in that is incredible. I don't think we could probably reproduce that today. And of course, that was probably handmade. I mean, I don't know, right? We don't know the level of tech they had, but that was crazy. And the thing is, that would have got people wherever they needed to go, right? A compass and the sky is all they needed. Now we're told we need GPS, right? GPS makes you stupid. Back in the 80s and 90s, we all used to have map books. We'd drive around with them on our laps, right? And we wouldn't crash and we would always get to where we're going. Now people can't do that because they need a GPS voice telling them where to go. It's crazy. And of course, GPS isn't even that reliable. It always takes you down some stupid road or, you know, like basically it takes you on a route that you don't want to go on. It's not always the best route, right? And of course they say, oh, it's the fastest and blah blah. But I don't know. I have a feeling that they take you the long route, right? So you waste more petrol. But, like this technology was clearly far superior and it didn't rely on the L, right? The L electronic circuit, the circuit where we go round and round and round, right? That's what a circuit is, the electronic circuit of the L, right? Elohim, the invaders, the fallen ones. It's all their technology, this new L circuit. And of course, the word charge, everything needs to be charged these days, right? Because the people who design this stuff are in charge of us, right? We even elect these people into power. We give them the power. It's all about power and charge and the L electronic circuit. But it's clearly not good for us. And again, it's falling right now. We're really starting to see how bad this stuff is with the introduction of all the algorithms, the bots, the AI, and now the ID they're trying to push. It's all to get us into their little world, into the 2D world. But we need to walk away, right? Step back and get back in the 3D world.
We look at all the products that came out during the 1910 to 1920s. Tons of radium products. There's radium water bottles, like little cones that were made out of radium. And you would take it and you would place it into your water and it would turn it into spring water. This is where the artesian springs and all of that come from. It's because the radium is turning it into an artesian spring. And I found documents, and this is where it gets crazy, where they took bricks of radium, put the brick into the water, and the water would turn into artesian spring water just by simply placing the brick into the water. So, we've been feared many times. This is what they use. They use fear, stay away, do all this, da 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 da. But it doesn't really make sense when you start to look back. And when we start to look back at about 1910, 1913, you have the Flexner Report, when the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and the Morgans took over the entire medical system. So anybody who goes to the system today in 2025, who are dealing with the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and the Morgans.
Yeah, that's Matt again from Cultivate Elevate, who does a lot of really good research into this old world tech and all the different things that we were using. And radium, right? Radium, all the old fireplaces around. That's a good rabbit hole. That they don't look like they were made to burn wood, right? That these massive fireplaces, they've always got art or, above them hanging up there, and they're very ornate, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Why would you hang art above a fireplace? It would get covered in soot. So the theory is they were using radium, right? Radium radiates, and what do we have now? Radiators, which are heaters, right? So was radium the original heat source for these fireplaces? I believe it was. But then all these other health benefits, putting it in your water, because we definitely have radium springs. They were everywhere. I know there's definitely some still in Florida and that they're dotted around all the place, right? But of course they're not promoted. They don't want you to know they're there, and they want you to think that radium kills you, right? It's going to unalive you. And basically they did this through the Radium Girls. If you look into that, you'll find that was the psyop that got rid of radium, right? And of course, the comes off radiation, all this kind of stuff. So they really, really demonize and vilify this technology. But as you see, like it was ever in the old world, and people seem to be a lot happier and healthier back then. So don't believe the hype.
They had kids on displays in incubators. So it's almost like you're showing people like how children are made. You're teaching them how to farm. You're teaching them how to grow food. You're teaching them all these things, and it's like, do the people not know? And that's where the other part that kind of started to blow my mind. Like, why are you teaching people agriculture? Don't they already know how to grow food? Like, didn't they go across the ocean and whatever? Like, you don't know how to have food? So you see all of this, and yes, it was like some strange situation where people were showed, technology, and then that technology would vanish. Even the big steam engines that were just massive, 10,000 square feet engines, those all went away. And like you said too, the electric trolleys, they were covering up the roads with mud so that people didn't even know that electric trolleys even exist. Because when you see this, like 1876, the Philadelphia World Fair, you see the rails that were there. And then when they had the fair, there's mud on top of it. And it's like, oh, so people can walk. That's what.
Matt again. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, and that moving sidewalk, that was from Paris World's Fair. Or I can't remember the exact date. I believe it was the 1880s. But there was so much technology. Like we were really properly advanced, right? But it was a different kind of advance than we've got now. Not that what we've got now is advanced, right? It was technology for the people, and it was based on analog, I guess, analog technology, actual moving parts, not this electronic grid, right? And it was all put together as a macro grid, right? Like now we have these micro grids or micro circuits, but the old world, everything was the circuit, the buildings, everything, the trains, the trolleys or trams, as we call them in Australia. We had it all, and it was all to benefit us, and it's all been stolen and hidden, like I've been saying, so that they could basically have time to work out how to use it against us and how to get us to pay so they can charge us, right? Charge us with their negative energy because that's what they are. The parasites are negative energy, and we're coming out of a negative cycle. That's why they've been in charge, right? Because they're charged up because of they match the negative energy where we are going into a positive charge. And of course, everyone who can see this, all of you amazing people watching this, we can see it. And that means we're of the positive charge, right? We're the future. We're on the front line. We're going into a much better place because the charge, those in charge, will now be positive, right? They will have a positive effect rather than what we've got now, where they all have a negative effect.
In October of 2022, I went to Barcelona, Spain, and walked inside the cathedral and saw an ancient advanced technology called a pipe organ. Most people don't understand how advanced the pipe organ really is. This is a waveform synthesizer, and if you notice how the cathedral is built with unique and perfect geometry, this is by design. When the pipe organ emits the sound waves into the cathedral, it acts as a resonance chamber. The vibrations it creates changes the DNA in the human body. Some people have reported having out-of-body experiences, spiritual experiences, as well as spontaneous healings. You may notice the Knights Templar cross symbolism all throughout the cathedral. As the Order of Solomon's Temple, the Knights Templar, or simply the Templars, was a Catholic military order, one of the most wealthy and popular military orders in Western Christianity. They were grandfathered into secret teachings, occult knowledge, and esoteric wisdom. The pipe organ was technology that they wanted to own and control, as its profound effects left people in awe. The builders of the cathedrals were masters of sound and frequency, on such a level that people of today in the 21st century have trouble recreating it. This occult wisdom dates back to the days of the Anunnaki.
Well, I don't know about the Anunnaki bit there at the end. Anunnaki means those who from the sky, the heaven to earth fell. Kind of sounds like Fallen Ones a bit, doesn't it? But that's an edge, right? We don't really know. Everything that we've got about that topic is in books, right? It's all been written. We can't go and experience that ourselves. So it's an edge that we can't prove or disprove. But organs, definitely, right? Organs heal the organs in our bodies, right? We're full of organs. That's what an organ is there for. Part of the cathedrals, right? Where we had the bells and the choirs and all the cymatics, all for healing. And that front door that they showed you, it's all cathedral front doors, how they sort of are built and they sort of come out. They look a bit like a speaker almost. They're called archivolts, right? Of course, got the word arc in there. Yes, I know archons, but archivolts, and of course, all cathedrals also have vaulted ceilings. And yes, people will say, oh, but that's spelt differently. It's spelt differently. Everything is frequency. It's not the spelling. The spelling is the spell. It's the frequency, the sound that defines what it is, right? So volt, VOLT, is the same as volt, VAULT. It's the same spell. It's the same word, but they do this. They change the spelling, the spell, so that we think that it's not related, when clearly it is.
Snowflakes, star forts, and cymatics. There is a principle at work here between the old world and the properties of this realm that we're not made to understand. And yet they tell us structures like these were made by horse and pushcart as real good defensive formations. Never mind the coincidence. These star forts, temples, and cathedrals were all built with a technology that we can't replicate today. This world was once a connected free energy grid. These star forts mere remnants of the far more advanced technologies and free energies of the past.
And all surrounded by water with currents. Yeah, star forts, one of my favorite topics. Again, my main channel, Autodidactic, link below. And I've did video on this, or videos, like 3-4 years ago, connecting, the cymatics with the star forts, with snowflakes, with things like mandalas, right, that they draw, the Buddhists, And Dr. Emoto and all his work, right, with the water and the cymatic shapes he was getting out of it. It's clearly all connected. And it just makes me think, should I do a video reacting on my own videos? Let me know. Because there's stuff from, 3, 4 years ago that I was doing that is really just sort of coming out now. So let me know, should I react to myself?
What if I told you fireplaces were never meant for burning wood? That the grand, ornate fireplace. What if I told you fireplaces were never meant for burning wood? That the grand, ornate fireplaces in old world buildings were actually power stations, not heaters? Look closely at Tartarian fireplaces. They're nothing like the ones we use today. They're shallow, lined with metal plates, and connected to strange copper and brass elements throughout the building. No chimneys blackened by soot, no need for fuel. So what were they really for? Many believed they were part of an advanced energy system, harnessing atmospheric electricity or what some call etheric energy. The metal backplates acted like conductors, drawing power from the air while the fireplaces themselves ionized and circulated energy, cooling in the summer, heating in the winter. But here's the real mystery. Why were these fireplaces ripped out of old world buildings? Why do mainstream historians refuse to acknowledge the true purpose? Could it be that free energy existed and was deliberately erased? The intensity of electric current in the center of the metal plate was likely so high that it made the plate glow incandescently, radiating heat. There may have been hidden mechanisms within the fireplace that remain undiscovered. Some believe similar capacitor-like structures were also placed in the upper section of the firebox. Even the chimney wasn't just for ventilation. It likely played a role in removing air that became charged or unhealthy after contact with the heated metal plates. A common trait in all of these fireplaces is the presence of a metal plate behind the firebox, or an entirely metallic firebox, and metal, goblet-like objects. These goblets, found in varying sizes, were typically placed near the edges of the fireplace. While the metal plates acted as infrared reflectors, the goblets had no place in a traditional wood-burning design. Many believe early Europeans, not understanding their true function, simply left them as decorative pieces. But what if they weren't just ornaments? Some claim these goblets were actually ether capacitors, designed to amplify electricity along the connected conductors. If true, this means these fireplaces were never meant for burning wood. Instead, they were part of a forgotten energy system, one that was erased from history. History isn't what they told us. The past was more advanced than we can imagine. So the real question is, what else have they hidden from us?
Yeah, fireplaces again, right? The radium, and it's true what he's saying. They all had big metal plates behind them, and these two, yeah, things, little tower capacitor type looking things made of metal at the front of them. They may have been capacitors. I don't know, obviously. Haven't done enough research into that. But I always thought, were they anode and cathode, right? Was there a charge going between them that was being put out into the energy? It's an interesting, and it's another good rabbit hole, right? The fireplaces, we really don't know. And chimneys, how were they connected in? Because all these old world buildings have chimneys, right? Well, not all of them. The cathedrals don't, but all the ones that look like they were residences, they all have chimneys. And then, of course, by the 1800s, all these chimneys were full of soot, right? And they used to have to get chimney sweeps to clean them out, which doesn't, go with what we see, right? All these buildings seem to have been built perfectly and they were self-running, they didn't need cleaning and maintenance. So what I think happened is after the reset, people have found these houses, they've seen these places and they were cold. So they just thought, well, let's burn wood. They may have had memories that these, fireplaces were for heating, but they didn't know how they worked. So they just threw wood in there and started burning that. And that's what we have today. But again, this was all, energy, free energy, a system that was created for us, right? For men and women to enhance our lives. And of course, it was all destroyed. And now it's been turned into a pretty non-efficient heating system where we have to go and get wood, right? And today, most people live in suburbia and they got to buy wood. So again, it's been turned into something that they can make money off. And of course, now, because of chimney smoke, they're telling us that it's killing the planet. And now they're trying to get rid of them completely, right? What will they introduce next? Well, no doubt some electronic circuit that radiates bad energy out as it creates heat. Now, everything that these parasites do is to keep us down and control us. But as I've said, their time is done, right? It's time to step forward into the positive frequency charge. And there we go, guys. A bit of a walk through the technology of the old world that has been, well, not lost, but it's been suppressed, right? And taken away from us and turned into something that works against us instead of for us. So please do let me know. Did you like this? Do you like this, kind of content where I go just on one topic? Let me know if you want to make more, because there's definitely a lot more old world tech out there that I can talk about. And also let me know, should I react to some of my videos? Because I've made a lot of videos on all this kind of stuff. A lot that I haven't watched in years, right? That's all on my main channel again, Autodidactic, link below. Go check it out. There's over 1,000 videos there. Most of it talking about Tartarian, all this technology, Antiquitech, all that kind of stuff. So let me know, should I react to myself? And thank you for spending some time with me. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please do give me a like if you enjoyed this video. Leave me a comment, and of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell, all that kind of stuff, and share it around, right? Let's get this out there so that people can see that the world we've ended up in is not ours, right? It was much better, and that's where we can go back to, right? All we've got to do is switch off from the 2D world, stop believing the hype, stop watching all the fear porn, and start focusing on where we want to go and what kind of a world we want to create and experience, because that's the way forward. All right, guys, thanks for spending some time with me. Stay awesome, and I'll talk to you all on the next upload. Bye for now.
Excuse me, love. Are you alright?
Oh, hey, can I get your insurance details, please?
I beg your pardon?
I just need your details for my car.
Why?
I don't know if you can see, but the wall's hit my car.
Sorry, look. Have you hit my wall?
No. Honestly, I've just parked my car. Your wall somehow has just hit my car.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I beg your pardon?
Look, I'm late for work. Can I just grab your details and I can give you...
What for?
I just need your insurance details.
I think I need your insurance details. Hold on a minute, yeah? Have you bloody hit my wall?
No, there's, your wall's hit, there's more damage to my car than there is to your wall.
Okay. And why are you here then?
Because I just need your details, honestly,
What for?
Well, I need to get my car fixed. It was absolutely fine before I came, and it's... yeah.
You've just hit into my wall, haven't you?
No, I'm trying to get your details because your wall has hit my car.
Okay, so you're saying that my wall has it...